For decades, researchers have been trying to communicate with Bigfoot. But have you ever wondered who he is trying to communicate with? These audio recordings might just answer that question.
From a dream ride through the wild Appalachian Trail to a blood-chilling mystery that still haunts the woods, this is the story of three cyclists, one camera, and something no one can explain. The disappearance. On March 22, 2025, three experienced mountain bikers, Devin Matthews, Jake Rodriguez, and Marcus Thompson, began what was supposed to be a 5-day cycling expedition through a remote part of the Appalachian Trail in southwestern Virginia. They were not beginners. All three were seasoned riders who had conquered extreme trails before, but only one of them would survive this trip. 2 weeks later, search teams found what was left of their final campsite. Jake and Marcus were dead. The site was torn apart, gear shredded, and there were signs of a violent struggle. The damage to their bodies didn't match any known animal attack. Something strong and brutal had hit them. Devin's body was never found. But hidden under debris 200 yards from the campsite, rescuers discovered his GoPro camera and waterproof journal. What they read inside the journal told a terrifying story. Devin Matthews, 29, was from Charlotte, North Carolina. He had over 15 years of mountain biking experience and was known for tackling the toughest trails in the eastern United States. His friends called him fearless and focused. Jake Rodriguez, 31, was a former Marine. He brought survival skills and military-level preparation to every trip. Marcus Thompson, 28, was a professional photographer. He documented their rides for social media and outdoor magazines, capturing every wild moment. The three had planned to ride a rugged 47-mile stretch through Jefferson National Forest. This area is known for steep climbs, technical descents, and its isolation. Cell service is basically non-existent. Some parts of the trail hadn't been maintained in years. And according to local folklore, something more than just wild animals called those woods home. The search begins. The group was supposed to check in at a contact point near Damascus, Virginia, on March 24th. When no one heard from them, family members contacted authorities. A search operation was launched, but rough weather and the size of the wilderness made it nearly impossible to get results quickly. After 8 days, the search was temporarily suspended because it became too dangerous for the rescue teams. On April 5th, a mix of park rangers and volunteers finally found their final campsite near the Grayson Highlands. The scene was horrific. Torn fabric from biking gear, scattered equipment, and biological evidence pointed to a violent struggle. Jake and Marcus had suffered massive trauma. Experts couldn't match the damage with any known predator. Devin was still missing, but his journal and GoPro found nearby revealed everything. The trip started as expected. Devin wrote that the weather was perfect for their Appalachian adventure. Jake had packed and organized gear with his usual military precision. Marcus was already snapping photos. Despite the trail's poor maintenance, they climbed 2,400 feet and covered 16 miles. Devin wrote that their spirits were high and legs still strong. The next morning, they woke up to thick fog. Marcus called it mystical, but Devin thought it was just eerie. The descent into Whitetop Laurel Creek was extremely technical. In some areas, they had to walk their bikes. Along the trail, they encountered massive tree falls that looked recent. Jake believed the trees had come down during last month's storms, but Devin wasn't convinced. The trees weren't just down. They were laid out in a way that felt intentional, like someone or something had placed them there as barriers. This is the day everything changed. Devin's tone in the journal shifted completely. He wrote that all three of them had a strange night. They kept waking up to sounds that didn't fit the usual forest noises. No owls, no rustling, no streams. Instead, they heard heavy footsteps circling their tent. When they shined their lights, there was nothing there. Just the darkness pressing in around them. Jake had checked the perimeter twice using his tactical flashlight. Down near the stream, he spotted some impressions in the mud. Too blurry to make out, but big. Maybe a bear checking out their food stash. At least that's what they told themselves. But that sense of being watched, it wasn't going away. In fact, it was getting worse. Each of them felt it, and they all brought it up separately. That's when it stopped feeling like nerves and started feeling real. Marcus kept seeing something move just out of frame while filming, but his camera never caught anything solid, The strangest part? The forest had gone completely quiet. No birds, no insects, just an unnatural silence hanging in the air. Jake mentioned that kind of silence usually means a predator is nearby. They moved their camp to higher ground and double-checked everything. Still, something didn't feel right. Devin wrote that part of him wanted to turn back, but they were already too far in, and there was no easy way out. The GoPro footage backed up everything. As the riders pushed through rougher terrain, the camera picked up dark figures in the distance, moving in the trees, just far enough back to stay hidden. The shapes weren't small, and they didn't move like animals. They were deliberate, watching. That night, none of them slept. Something circled their camp again and again, just beyond the edge of their light. Around 3 a.m., Jake finally fired a warning shot into the air. Whatever it was, stopped immediately. But that silence afterward? Devin said it was somehow worse than the stalking. When the sun came up, they found the prints, huge ones, nearly 1.5 feet long, with 5 clear toe impressions, 8 inches wide, deep in the dirt. Too deep for a person, too wide for a bear. Whatever made them had to weigh at least 400 to 500 pounds. Jake tried to measure them, but the ground was too soft to get anything clean. The group was starting to realize this wasn't some curious animal. This thing was following them, hurting them. They kept finding trees blocking the trails, trees that hadn't been there before. It was forcing them off their planned route, pushing them deeper into the woods and away from anything familiar. Devin started watching their GPS. Every blocked path took them farther from main trails, farther from help. It wasn't random, it was strategic. Something was controlling the game. Jake snapped into full survival mode. He treated the situation like a tactical operation. They set up a watch rotation, rigged makeshift alarms using bike gear, and began rationing food in case they had to evacuate on foot. Then came the footage that changed everything. Marcus had been adjusting his camera when he caught it standing still behind a line of pine trees, about 75 yards out. A huge bipedal figure, just watching. It didn't move for nearly half a minute. Then it disappeared into the trees. They reviewed the footage right away. This wasn't a bear. It wasn't a person. The size, the shape, the way it moved. It was all wrong. Too tall, too wide. It had a human-like motion, but it wasn't human at all. Forensic experts later confirmed the video was real, untouched. And using the trees as reference, they estimated the creature stood at least 8 to 9 feet tall. After that, Jake had had enough. He wanted to abandon the bikes and navigate out of the forest on foot using his military skills. Marcus argued that they should stay on the trail, stick to the plan, and just push through. He believed the creature was just protecting territory, and that if they didn't stop moving, it would leave them alone. Devin didn't know who to believe. Jake's plan sounded smarter, but leaving the bikes meant risking a dangerous hike through rough, unfamiliar terrain. In the end, they compromised. They'd ride faster, stick together, and try to reach the Damascus checkpoint before nightfall. It was a mistake. Around 2 p.m., they reached a narrow part of the trail with sheer drops on both sides, nowhere to run. That's when it stepped out. Right in front of them, massive, covered in dark brown hair, around 9 feet tall. Its face was part human, part something else. Deep brow ridges, a wide jaw that looked like it could crush bone without effort. Marcus hit his brakes too hard and flipped over his handlebars. For a moment, they locked eyes with it. Then, it let out a roar. The GoPro caught the sound, and it was nothing like they'd ever heard. Not just loud, not just deep. It shook them. A blend of gorilla, bear, and something unnatural. Later analysis confirmed the creature had vocal cords much larger than anything known to science. It didn't attack them right then, but it didn't have to. Its message was clear. They weren't going anywhere. When they tried to backtrack and find a new path out, they discovered the worst part. Every exit was already blocked. The trap closes in. As the cyclists pushed forward, the forest itself seemed to turn against them. Freshly fallen trees blocked their way, along with sudden rock slides and strange barricades made of branches and debris. These weren't random obstacles. They were being guided, forced toward something. Devin's journal revealed what they all feared but hadn't said out loud. They were being herded toward a destination, and wherever they were being led, it wasn't going to end well. Jake, with his military background, recognized the strategy. This wasn't just an animal. It was a predator using classic tactics, isolating prey, cutting off escape, and driving them into a trap. When night came, they had no choice but to set up what they believed could be their final camp. Trapped in a small clearing surrounded by dense forest, they backed up against a rock formation and braced for what was coming. The creature circled them, staying just beyond the light. They caught flashes of it, heard it breathing, watched branches snap under its weight. Marcus kept filming, capturing everything he could in case no one made it out. Just after midnight, the attacks began, not full on, but slow, calculated tests. It would rush the edge of their light, roar, then vanish. Every time it got bolder. Jake fired warning shots, but they had no effect. If anything, they made it angrier. Then came the rocks. Enormous ones hurled from the dark, strong enough to crush gear. One hit Jake's bike and bent it in half like it was made of plastic. By dawn, the creature had pulled back. But they knew it wasn't over. They could still hear it circling, waiting. Jake believed it wanted daylight. It wanted to see their faces when it made its final move. Marcus set up his camera to get the best possible angle of whatever came next. Devin, in a last act of hope, buried his journal and backup memory card from the GoPro, just in case someone found the camp later. He ended his message simply. If you're reading this, we tried to survive. But some things in these mountains are older and stronger than we ever imagined. While the journal ended there, the GoPro kept recording for another 43 minutes. In the morning light, the creature stepped into view. It wasn't rushing. It wasn't hiding. It moved with focus, eyes locked on the three men trying to defend themselves. Jake took the lead, trying to coordinate their response like a combat mission. But the creature was too big, too strong, and too smart. It disabled Jake first, using sheer force. Then it went after Marcus, who kept recording even as he ran. What made the footage truly disturbing wasn't just the violence, it was the creature's precision. This wasn't a wild, chaotic attack. It was deliberate, calculated. It knew what to target. It smashed their bikes, crushed their communication gear, and at times it looked straight into the camera as if it knew exactly what it was doing. The last moments of footage showed Devin running through the woods, camera shaking violently. Heavy footsteps crashed behind him and the creature's roars echoed through the trees. Then, the video cut out. Silence. What investigators found at the campsite only confirmed what the footage showed. There were claw marks on trees up to 10 feet high. The camp was torn apart. Bikes and gear were crushed with force far beyond what any known animal could manage. And the plaster casts made from the footprints? Over 18 inches long, 5 distinct toes. No match to any known species. Biological samples taken from the scene contained DNA that matched no known primate. It had similarities to both human and great ape, but couldn't be identified conclusively. The condition of the samples made deeper analysis difficult. Experts reviewed the video frame by frame. They found consistent physical features, scarring, uneven limbs, and a distinct facial shape. No signs of digital tampering. It was real. Some wildlife specialists initially suggested it was a bear suffering from disease or trauma, but that theory didn't hold up. The behavior, the stalking, the strategy, none of it fit with bear attacks. Others floated the idea of a feral human. But no human, no matter how strong, could create those prints or inflict that level of destruction. Only one theory matched everything. The creature was a Sasquatch. The Appalachian Mountains have a long history of Bigfoot sightings, dating back to Native American oral traditions. What Devin described, marking territory, calculated pursuit, psychological tactics, matched dozens of other encounters across North America. What made it different was the intelligence. This wasn't just a beast. It understood how to corner prey, how to disrupt human tools, how to use fear as a weapon, and it worked. Devin's body was never recovered. Some believe he may have died alone in the forest, trying to escape. Others think the creature took him alive. Thermal imaging flights detected strange heat signatures in deep forest regions shortly after the rescue teams pulled out. Ground searches were launched, but the terrain was too harsh. The few places teams reached showed signs of disturbance, broken branches, strange smells, more giant footprints, but no trace of Devin. To this day, his fate remains unknown. His journal and camera are all that's left. And whatever is out there in the Appalachian wilderness is still out there. The trail that changed everything. Devin's family still clings to hope. Maybe he survived. Maybe he's out there somewhere, lost in the wilderness, suffering from memory loss or injuries, alive but unable to make his way back. But survival experts have looked at the terrain, the freezing temperatures, and the lack of supplies, and their verdict is grim. For someone to make it alone under those March conditions without the right gear, nearly impossible. The aftermath of the incident left deep scars not just on loved ones but on the entire outdoor community. That section of the Appalachian Trail was shut down indefinitely. Warning signs were put up. Rangers increased patrols, but quietly admitted they had no idea what to do if the creature ever showed up again. Wildlife officials stuck to their script, insisting the deaths were likely caused by a known predator. A bear, maybe a mountain lion. But that theory never sat right with the families. The signs didn't match. The stalking, the traps, the intelligence. The families began to believe the truth wasn't being denied, it was being buried. Freedom of Information Act requests were filed. All were denied. National security, ongoing investigation. That was the response. But what happened to Devin Matthews, Jake Rodriguez, and Marcus Thompson is now considered one of the most chilling and well-documented Sasquatch encounters in modern history. A tragic blend of eyewitness accounts, physical evidence, and video proof. It's more than just a spooky tale. It's something the scientific community hasn't figured out how to explain or accept. For the families, the case isn't just about grief. It's about fighting for answers in a system that seems more interested in managing panic than revealing truth. They continue to push for transparency, better protection for wilderness adventurers, and a serious investigation into what's really out there. The outdoor community has had to take a hard look at its own assumptions. Bear spray and basic survival guides are helpful, but they don't prepare you for an intelligent, hostile predator that deliberately hunts humans. That's not something anyone trains for. Devin's final words still echo across forums, articles, and documentaries. Some things in these mountains are older and stronger than we ever imagined. It's a chilling reminder that even with all our gear, training, and tech, we still don't know everything that lives in the deep woods. But the nightmare didn't end there, because just a few months later, another story emerged from the Appalachian Trail. And this time, it came from someone who survived to tell it. Another case. 3 months after Devin vanished, someone else came forward with a story that sent chills down the spines of everyone who heard it. Her name was Kelly Morrison, a 28-year-old nurse from Asheville, North Carolina. By the time she shared her experience, her hands were still shaking just talking about it. Kelly wasn't new to the trail. She'd hiked over 800 miles of the Appalachian Trail and knew how to survive. That's likely the only reason she made it back alive. She and her best friend Sarah had planned a weekend backpacking trip in Pisgah National Forest. Perfect weather, scenic route, 24 miles over 3 days. They were fully prepared: gear, maps, backup chargers. Nothing about that morning felt unusual, until a stop at a general store in Bear Creek. The clerk, an old mountain local, stared at their packs, then warned, "Y'all be extra careful out there. Strange reports lately." He wouldn't elaborate, just muttered something about old mountain tales. They laughed it off. Locals always had legends. By 9:30 a.m., they were on the trail. Clear skies, empty parking lot, peaceful woods. But halfway through the first day, things shifted. The forest grew dense and silent. Not quiet, dead silent. No birds, no wind, nothing. Then they found the tree. Stripped of bark 12 feet up, gouged with claw marks. And beneath it, there were prints. Massive, human-shaped, but wrong. 5 toes, clawed, bipedal. Kelly's boot looked tiny beside them. They should have turned back. Instead, they camped beside a stream. A spot that should have been perfect. But that silence had weight now, like something watching. Then came the sound. Low, guttural. One call, then another. Then more, from different directions. This wasn't random, it was communication. They killed the fire and hid in their tents, listening all night. At dawn, they found huge prints circling their tents. They packed and left, no more detours, no more plans. Then something stepped onto the trail. Tall, massive, wrong, and not alone. The creatures closed in. Kelly had one chance, bear spray. She hit the lead female full in the face. It screamed, almost human, and staggered back. Kelly grabbed Sarah and ran, but the creatures were furious now. Sarah, already injured, couldn't keep up. On a slope, she fell, ankle broken. "Go," she begged. Kelly ran. Sarah's scream followed her through the woods. For hours, Kelly ran blindly, without food, water, or gear. By nightfall, she found shelter under a fallen tree. Too scared to light a fire, she hid through the night. At dawn, she followed a stream. Then came hope. She heard a car engine and a hunter found her and got help. Rescuers searched for 5 days. Dogs refused to enter the area. Helicopters saw nothing. They only found Sarah's backpack, shredded. Sarah was never found. Authorities blamed a bear. But Kelly knows what she saw. These weren't animals. They hunted in packs and communicated. Kelly tried to return to normal life, but the woods now triggered panic. She'd seen too much. These weren't animals. They were coordinated, intelligent, and deadly. No one believed her story, but Kelly knows better. Now, she warns others. The Appalachian wilderness hides something terrifying. Sarah's still missing. And those creatures, whatever they are, they're still out there.